Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the podcast, The Simulationist, iteration 156 of the podcast. We're recording on the 23rd of August, 2015.
Wait, 156 or 155?
Oops.
Where are we?
155.
155 it is? I think. Okay, tell the date at least, tell the date. We know the date, we know which day it is.
Yeah, it's the 23rd of August, 2015 anyways. And if you're listening to this, you'll have already seen the episode number on the title, so either way, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have even announced it, but hey.
Well, it's always good to have that sort of thing going on. I think, you got to get it right.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Josh Chalevin, as it always is, in case this is your first Simulationist episode you've ever listened to.
This is 155. Okay, I just double-checked.
Okay, 155.
Okay.
And with me, as always,
Ryan Kirkby, co-host extraordinaire, and number double-checker.
Number double-checker, yes. Oh boy, yeah. If this podcast, if we didn't have you, think of the rails we'd go off.
You just be rolling 3 dice to determine what iteration we are. Just be
sure.
Actually, that's not a bad idea for a gaming one. You just get effectively a 1 die 1,000 sort of thing, and you roll randomly, and then you make sure you don't duplicate any previous results, and just say you're doing it out of sequence, Time Lord style.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, why didn't we think of that 154 iterations ago?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we call them iterations, because we could, in theory, the next iteration could be completely different.
Fair enough.
Or, I don't know, or not. I don't know. That seems like some work.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll keep doing what we're doing, but we'll put that idea out for anyone else who wants to do some different stuff.
Somebody else. People are always starting new podcasts. It's funny, you'd think, when we started, it's there's podcasts are, saturated. There's too many podcasts. No, people still start podcasts.
That's why we have the term supersaturation.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have some news for this week's news.
Talking about the geek news.
Josh, next week or that upcoming weekend, we have.
Roll for Initiative is up. I don't think I'm going to make it to this Saturday, but if you are a gamer and you're in Victoria on this coming up weekend, August the 26th, 7th.
Let's see, what are we today? We're at the 23rd?
23rd, it's Sunday.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 29 for the...
Okay, August 29th, we have Roll for Initiative, which is, we play Dungeons & Dragons all together in a group. It is like there was 2 tables last time. Hopefully we'll grow a bit more. As we go into the fall, we're probably going to have university students around, so hopefully we're going to grow a little bit. Might have 3 or 4 different tables going at the same place.
But it's not always the same adventure at each table, right?
Well, one guy, Alex, is kind of keeping some continuity.
But it's not the same story being told at 2 different tables like you get at conventions.
No,
okay.
No, not like that. Well, unless you never know, because as we add tables or DMs, speaking of DMs, we are looking for DMs.
Yeah.
Or I say we. I'm not really
it's
involved.
The royal we.
I mean, I am involved in as much as I participate as a player, but I'm not that much otherwise.
So then, do the tables have specializations? Like, if you want a hack and slash adventure, you go to this one table. You go to the red table. You want more of a role-playing experience, you go to the blue.
Well, let me say this: if I know who's being the GM at each table, I can probably tell you their style a little bit.
But there's not like a pure focus, like, okay, you got to roll, like a hack and slash campaign here, buddy.
Right. No.
We don't have at least 2 groups of monsters for every room attacking you. Then, by golly, these players are not going to get their money's worth.
I will say, the whole roll for initiative thing, like that whole the fact that it is kind of a drop-in game, it does tend to lean towards a bit of hack and slash, a bit of dice rolling, a bit of slaying. There is role playing too. There always is, but it's more on that end of, it's that convention type of atmosphere. It's
nice.
almost like having a game convention every month.
That's a very good way to describe it. You should tell them that. Use that as their slogan.
Yeah, I should. They have their website up and running. I can't tell it to you now in audio format because I can't remember what the website is.
Plus, it never translates out well, so we'll just put a link down underneath.
Yeah, it's Roll for Initiative is what it's called, and it's
Google
in Victoria.
it.
Roll for Initiative Victoria.
Yahoo!
You'll find it. Yeah, and you can. Yeah, it costs I think like $10 to $12 for a player. If you're a GM, it's only like $2.
They got to rent the room, sort of things.
Yeah, they got to pay for the space.
Until they get photos developed of somebody in a compromising situation who happens to own property where they can role play once a week in the whole thing there. It's got to be charged. Yeah. So if you want to help out and you just can't afford the money, just start finding good photos of people in compromising situations and see if they have like a convention sort of space to let loose. That's right. I just advocated blackmail, and it's not extortion if it's not money, right?
I'm not a lawyer.
We'll just keep it with blackmail then. All right. However, in sadder news this week, the actress Yvonne Craig has passed away.
Okay, Yvonne Craig.
She was Batgirl in the Adam West series.
Okay.
Many a man loves Batgirl more than Batman simply because of just how well she worked that spandex.
Is Batgirl Batman's girlfriend?
Well, in the Batman Beyond continuity, after the modern era, but before the Batman Beyond era, yes, they did have like a period where they were boyfriend-girlfriend. No, she is a fellow Cape, crime fighter.
Yeah.
Who in this case was not her public persona was not known to Batman or Robin, so she was like a mystery to them, the mystery they couldn't solve.
Oh, yeah.
A woman, which is kind of funny and super campy, but whatever. I believe in most continuities for Batman, no, she's like a little young for him, dude. It is Commissioner Gordon's daughter, by the way. For most Batgirls. There are some Batgirls who are not that way, so
all the Batgirls.
What's the thing is you have the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, and she's she's not related to Gordon at all. She's not related to anyone in Gotham City. Hooray!
Yvonne.
She was also the green skin alien space babe that tried to seduce Captain Kirk.
Tried to? Didn't succeed?
He was in a situation whereby he was unseducible. Normally, Kirk's got a weak spot for the ladies, but he was in an insane asylum and was trapped and being led by the greatest military tactical mind that had ever snapped in all of the Federation. So yeah, he knew better than to try and let himself get seduced by her. So it's like, yeah.
I see.
Plus, I mean, she was insane too. It's like you didn't find out how until about halfway through. But yeah, she was an inmate as well. So as much as I say everybody should date a crazy person once in their lives just to help know the value of sanity.
That's your go-to wisdom advice.
Everybody should date crazy at one point in their lives. Because one, it's a heck of a ride. Woo! Two, when you meet that right person and they're sane, you appreciate them so much more for that. So, you gotta taste sour before you can taste sweet to its best effect. But I said sour's nice for a little while too, so have some fun. But yeah, it's like she played an insane person, so as much as I'm sure Kirk would have enjoyed the little bit of insanity fun with the tryst, no, he was in no position to let anything slide.
I see.
If he was to slip and falter, this man would have gotten a hold of the Enterprise, and with that, had the tactical know-how to probably get himself an armada and really raise Kane. So, Kirk had no chance of just, maybe I'll seduce her for a little bit in this one thing. No, he had no room.
Okay, well, I'll take your word on that one. It's sad to see another, I don't know, icon. Can you call her an icon?
Yes, she was very much an icon of the era.
Okay.
she was a good actress, by all stretches. And she seemed to like, the sci-fi fantasy sort of thing. So it's like, hey. Yeah. She was Batgirl. She managed to help break that gender barrier for wearing tight skin on television. Whee! So it's sad to see her go. Nobody lives forever, but it's always sad. And it seems like we're losing so many this year too. But yes, that's enough of the bad news.
All right.
Let's get on to some more positive stuff. What you been doing this week, Josh?
Shall we? Oh, yeah, let's talk about what we've been up to. This week, I don't know about how much, I did a little bit of Minecraft. I also did stand-up comedy, I got on stage 3 times this week. 3 nights.
Nice, very nice. On purpose, not just sweep up afterwards.
So that was pretty cool. So I've been, just basically hanging out at the comedy club.
Do you want to do some name dropping? Who are you chatting with this week?
Oh, well, yeah, I went and saw a show last night. Erica Sigerson, who is a Canadian comedian who's kind of well known. Google
up The Debaters. I believe you can stream it or get it off of the CBC website because it's a CBC program. 2 comedians debate an issue in very hilarious ways, and one guy, who's also a comedian, winds up being the referee.
Yeah, I believe you can get it in podcast format, so you can probably load it up on whatever system you're getting this on. You can probably listen to it on the same thing.
The only negative thing I have to say about it is that I usually can only catch the tail end of it as I'm driving myself to work, and it's I could have cut the entire thing. Now everyone else is so extra happy, and I'm just coming in halfway through. I don't even know what the proper topic is.
Yeah. So I
recommend watching it from the start of any given debate.
Yeah. So after her show, I got to shake hands with her and and meet. Yeah.
You're meeting the real pros out there, Josh.
I suppose.
Next thing you know, you'll be chatting with Brent Butt.
Yeah.
Think about
maybe.
it. Yeah. The big-time Canadian comedians.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool. So, I've been doing comedy. And as far as, Minecraft and the imaginary world goes, I've been having... what did I do? I went back to my my huge tree farm base. Did I ever tell you about my huge tree farm? I have a tree farm. I have a sort of a template that I like to use of tree farms spaced about every 5 blocks away, just so there's space.
That's about what I do myself.
Trees.
You get a good mix of both wood as well as leaves to help propagate the next generation of trees.
Yeah. And I use glowstone in the ground too,
very
in a
fashionable
plus sign pattern around each tree, so I know where to plant again, and also there's light.
So you don't do the elevated 1 block sort of thing for it?
No.
Because I've always found there's guaranteed to be that 1 block, right? At the bottom where there's no leaves around it.
Oh yeah.
So if you use 1 block elevated up above the rest, you know where to plant. It's on the bump.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you've got that 2 block area, so you can always just get in and start. And I've got tree capitator now, so it makes it so much easier. It's just walk up, chop, 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 done. That said, I don't need to chop trees very often anymore. I've got my automated tree farm, so it's I kind of miss out.
And then so I have that pattern, and it's 64 trees altogether, so that'd be 8 by 8. So it's an 8 by 8 square of those, surrounded with a wall that has a little lip to keep spiders out, so nice and secure.
And you do just the 1 block, right? For your trees, you don't transplant them in a 2 by 2 fashion to make extra thick ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just do one at a time.
Okay, just making certain.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I built a giant scaffolding, held up by pillars on all the sides, and then duplicate the same tree farm pattern on top. And so I have 2 of these structures. So it amounts to 4 tree pads of 64 trees each.
Oh my.
Yeah. So basically, the reason that I've been doing that is because I want to start a big new project with lots and lots of wood.
Very
so I'm
good.
filling a chest of each type of wood.
Excellent. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, and you don't go with the big mods and all that sort of thing, so you can't just get it automated like what I've done.
No.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So you can't have like 300 stacks of blocks of great wood tree, simply because I left it running too long.
Well, I don't know what Greatwood tree is.
It's a 1x1 tree from Thaumcraft that winds up becoming a 2x2 when it finally grows, and it's much larger than your traditional tree. So you get a lot of wood off of each tree you chop.
Because I probably have 4 double chests full of wood by now, just from chopping it. So 4 times 56, it's maybe 200 and something.
Okay.
Stacks of wood. Yeah,
that's still pretty good.
I want to build a big garden project. So I want to get together as much materials as I can before I actually start building the garden. And it's going to be have levels and wood sections and
Very nice, cool. Very nice.
But I haven't even started on that. I'm just gathering material.
Well, trust me, that's one thing I'm bad for. Is I'll start on, it's like, oh wait, I need so much of this. I only have 33 blocks. It's like, man.
Yeah. So that's been my Minecraft. What about you? What's your week been like?
Well, I didn't do a heck of a lot for Minecraft this week. I have that little containment zone because I've got the Eldritch, obelisk thing, which I might wind up using for some nefarious purposes as I get more insane later on in the game. But I'm pretty sane right now, so my job is to, isolate it away, lock it up sort of thing. So I've built a prison around it. Mm-hmm. And so I realized, I went to my quarry, and I'm down near the bottom of my quarry, so I've got a lot of access to a lot of lava. And so I came back with, almost 3 stacks of, containers. So it's each one is 4 buckets, so effectively almost 16 complete stacks of what would be buckets of lava if you could stack buckets of lava. So I had a lot of lava. Yeah. So I wound up turning it into obsidian, and then turning that obsidian to obsidian tile, which is the same sort of thing. It's effectively the same thing, just a bit of a different visual design to it. Mm-hmm. It's to sandstone as or smooth sandstone as the crude stuff is to regular sandstone. It's just a conversion. You don't lose out any blocks in the process. Right. So my whole dangerous area, because the nodes from the underneath the obelisks produces a sinister area. So it's an eerie biome. So that entire eerie biome is now secluded away, with well, at least on the surface. I'm pretty sure if I go down far enough underneath, I'll find something underneath there for cavern space. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all obsidian tile with studded with glowstone. Very nice look, by the way. The black with the yellow studding, classy. Some smoked tinted windows around the whole thing to create a defensive perimeter. And then my original plan was to have the entire base area just surrounded with for lack of, I guess, better terms, just lava, just a little lava field around that. Ooh, dangerous. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about, there's a chance I'm going to wind up falling off at some point, and I'm going to wind up burning myself to death and losing everything just because I want to be dangerous. And I'm looking over, I'm like, wait, I got a whole lot of containers of this blue liquid slime from the Tinker's stuff, from the floating islands there. I got rid of a floating island. I didn't like its position, and it blocked my view. So I got rid of it. And so I got all this stuff here. Now there's a few more islands off to the east, and I think there's a few more over to the west. So I gathered up some of the stuff, and I put them all together, and I started putting down a layer of this blue slime water. So now if I fall off the side of, where it is, where I'm going into my danger hot zone, it'll wind up being oh wait, I landed in some water, I'm not hurt. So whee! But the water also spontaneously spawns blue slimes.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's still pretty dangerous, because, you could fall down there, it's blue slimes. And every once in a while, it will spawn a king slime, which is effectively a boss monster. Kind of weak sauce boss monster, but a boss monster all the same.
All right.
So it's I fell down, now it's the danger pits, I gotta hack and slash before I can get my way out. I made a custom door, just for the whole purpose there. I used the molasses doors, came up with a nice door that matched the aesthetic design of the stuff. No just simple iron door for me here. I want to make this continue the style. And so that's all set up nice. I do need a lot more blue slime. All the stuff I got only covered 1/3 of the space area, so it's now I gotta find even more resources to finish off this little, cool project of mine. But that's okay, because the next part of building around that is the nice safety perimeter, and that's going to involve a lot of aluminum blocks. So it's like, well, I guess it'll take my time. It's going to take me forever to get this going on here. But I actually got an aluminum brass center with like the outer linings of aluminum, so it's really classy, gold on white look for where you walk, and then you got the black on gold for the inside danger zone. So it's like, by the time this is done, this is going to throw up the horns. This is rockin' style, man.
All right.
Or at least that's my plan.
Yeah.
So because I was doing all that, I didn't get a lot of work done on my wall, and so I haven't finished off my perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
But once I got that done, I decided to take a vacation. So I went to my alternate home, a little up to the north and the east. I didn't take my flying machine anymore for that one. Because I got the brewing stuff, I said, well, I'll just take a few potions of speed. So I popped a few potions, and I just boogied it across the desert. And
nice.
It was so fun.
I should really use more potions of speed.
For long distance travel, I very much recommend them, especially if you've got something nice and smooth where you've done like stairs up, so you don't have to like constantly jump everywhere you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier. But I took some soul shards stuff with me, so I wound up doing a work vacation over there, and now I've got shards that allow me to generate pigs, sheep, and cows. I brought another one to see if I could kill enough of the Eldritch Guardian that spawns in my other town.
Oh, yeah.
I got about 12 of them, so I'm, I guess, like almost a quarter of the way to being able to spontaneously generate horrible beasts that try and kill me. In retrospect, as I was surveying the area before I left, I found a few elephants and I'm like, oh, I could have tried to get an elephant spawner. Why didn't I do that, man? I could have tried for elephants. Elephants, dude, come on. It's like, all right. Oh, well, that's my fault. But yeah, I haven't done a lot of Minecraft as much as usual this week because I've been watching Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, the Hole Digger series that I'm watching, it's the Yogcast extension
Yogscast.
extension out from the Moon Quest series that they did.
Yeah, it's the same usual Yogscast suspects, right? It's Simon and Lewis and Duncan.
Simon, Lewis, Duncan. The part where I'm at, they just got Sips in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sold on Sips yet. He's a nice guy. He works very well with Duncan. At first I was like, oh, great, some other guy, like doing like a celebrity guest appearance. But no, his interactions with Simon, well, he was good with Duncan to begin with. Duncan's like he decided not to do the project they were doing. He went off to another little island and made like a golf course. So he's expecting that, and they're enjoying that. But then he's going off with Honeydew, the dwarf, and all that, and they play well together. I wouldn't mind seeing a series with them too. So I'm being sold, but I'm not as sold on Sips as I am sold on Shin. For some reason, Shin came into the previous series at the end of the Moon Quest stuff, and I automatically took a liking to him. I was like, I dig this guy.
I've noticed that about Shin.
S-J-I-N. I just pronounce it Shin.
Everybody seems to like him, and Sips is harder to like.
That's it. I mean, I'm getting to like Sips. He's got a bit of a different style, but like as I said, he plays great with Simon. So it's like, maybe get these two together. Well, apparently, Simon is recovering from something in the hospital in the current era. I'm from 1 year back. The stuff I'm watching is a year old. So, but for some reason, I'm liking this more than I am liking the Moon Quest stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not 100% certain as to why. It's not like they're working at a faster pace or they're more proficient. I mean, okay, well, Simon's gotten weirdly, competent. You give him a jetpack, and all of a sudden he's building structures for you willy-nilly. Duncan decided to quit being proficient and decided to go make a golf course elsewhere. So it's like, what? But I'm enjoying it. I'm finding it used to be that I'd watch one episode. That's my good one for the day. I want to stretch this out. Now it's like I'll take 2-3 episodes. It's like I should get to bed. But maybe I'll just watch one episode before I go, something to help relax me as I get ready to fall asleep. So, something about it has really caught my eye, and so I'm going to have to sit down and really analyze, why am I liking this one more? But I haven't figured that out yet. So that's my big future project, is figuring out, why am I liking this one more than the other one?
Yeah.
And I will become smarter and wiser once I have the answer.
Yeah.
Until the meantime, I will be watching 3 British goofy balls just playing around in Minecraft. Sometimes doing work, sometimes not. I mean, one episode, Simon builds up like 2 buildings for like 3 stories apiece. It's like, oh. Meanwhile, Lewis is walking back and forth telling a story about, and he's not actually doing anything in either location. When he gets to the one, he realizes he needs to do something at the other, goes to the other one, realizes he should have been doing something at the first one. He just keeps on going back, and it was like 5 minutes of one of their episodes. And it's like, I'm just enjoying the story. Yeah, you can keep going back and forth. I'm not going to be upset that you're not getting stuff done. You're telling an entertaining story. With seagulls in the background right now, because it was filmed during the summer, and they're by the coast, so they got seagulls aplenty there. So
like in real life.
In real life, you hear the background. In the background, you
Oh yeah, we have seagulls here.
Yeah, but they don't. They're not out at the same hours that we're doing stuff. And my landlady keeps the place very nice and neat, so there's very little garbage for the seagulls to come for.
Oh yes.
That said, we do have a field next to us that the Canadian geese like to go on. So if you ever hear like a bunch of honking in the background, that's just the geese landing for the night. There you go.
Cool.
Other than that, I got back into the Omlevex book I was reading.
Oh yes.
I put it down for a little bit. Forgot to, I forgot where I put it, and I just left it off. I'm really digging the Silver Age style and motif they've got going on there.
Yes. In case people forget, Omlevex is a campaign setting for superhero role-playing games.
Yes, it's got 3 different role-playing stuff. It's got like the Mutants, Masterminds, the Hero System, and like a little tri-stat sort of thing in the back you can find.
Okay.
I picked it up because, tri-stat rules, hooray! Also, it was only $5. It was like,
yeah.
And now I feel kind of guilty only paying $5 for it, because it's like, this is good enough quality. I probably should have paid full price.
Yeah, and somebody worked really hard writing it all.
Yes, and I very much enjoy that because not only did they write like the characters and then come up with the stat blocks for everything there, they also came up with the concept of Omlevex Comics, which was a Silver Age production company that didn't really exist, and so they came up with characters and writers and like the CEO and all that stuff that never really existed. So it's got a whole meta nature to it that's very unique. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that.
Okay, cool.
But, yeah. The more I read these Silver Age characters, the more I analyze my own superheroes that I've made and figured, would they work as Silver Age? What would I have to do to change it? What could I do? How can I better redefine my characters from what I'm learning from them? So I'm getting a lot out of it. So I am reading a little slower because of it, though.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yay, I'm doing some reading this week. Hooray for me. But we have even more reading to do as part of this iteration. Yeah.
So you ready to go?
Yes. Last week we started talking about Pixar's 22 rules for phenomenal storytelling, right?
Yes.
And we got through 10 of them, and hopefully we'll get all the way down to 22 this week. It was just stuff that was posted by like a former Pixar employee on her or Twitter account, I believe it was.
Okay, yeah.
So these aren't big, long, extensive rules. They're nice little quick snippets to get you thinking. And I think because of that, it's nice for us to chat about. Because how do you interpret this? How do I interpret it? And that way you get a lot of fun grist. So we got up to number 10. So let's go on to 11 for this week. Putting it on paper lets you start fixing it. If it stays in your head, a perfect idea, you'll never share it with anyone. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I guess I'm very guilty of not following through on this because I have so many ideas. And that's another thing we do on this podcast. We just throw ideas out there like, hey, somebody should do something with this. But yeah,
we're chumming up the waters, man. We are looking for some sort of literary shark to start biting here.
Yeah, but the reality is it isn't really something until someone actually puts some effort and work into it and really crafts it. But I mean that all it is work. It just takes time and effort. But that's true. Yeah, you just got to get it out there, get it into reality, and then you have something you can show somebody like, hey, I've got this.
I've been doing this work on this here, maybe helping out. Because for the longest time, I had some conceptual rules about two-handed weapons or double-edged weapons from third edition, and it's like, well, they got the rules here. I see some rules there, and so it wasn't until I sat down and started finding out what's the difference in price, what's the difference in weight, how does this all work out here, that I came up with some rules, and everyone I've showed it to, since I was able to show it around, has really loved the concept and the idea and the implementation. I'm gonna have to sit down and rework it again for 5th edition, but I think it's viable.
Cool.
But I haven't put anything down in paper for 5th edition, so it's
yeah.
it's nothing for 5th edition.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants it for like 3.5, like hit me up, man. I'll just send you the rules. They're free, man. They're free, man. Just off it goes.
Cool. Yeah.
I suppose I could make a point, of contention saying putting it on paper doesn't always need to be paper.
Sure.
Putting it out on a podcast, writing it down on your little netbook, putting some like a little notepad message on your computer. Say, I have a good idea for this. There we go. Now I'm done.
Yeah.
At least getting it down somewhere puts it, into some sort of more permanent thing. Lets you see it objectively, a little bit more objectively than in your head.
That's true. Yeah. I think even like paper itself does have its own, like when you put something physically on paper, that means something. Like
Yes.
that's a slightly different thing than putting it on a computer. But it is also good to get it, into a notepad file or whatever word processor.
Especially because that way you can't forget about it.
Yeah.
If you don't share it with anyone, as soon as you stop thinking about it, it is gone.
Yeah.
Bam, man.
That's true.
So there's something about the extra permanence of that. There's been some ideas I've looked at. It's like, D&D to-do list, and I'm looking. It's like, these ideas are amazing. Who came up with this? Because I do not see myself coming up with that. But it's just a little idea that I have. Is like, a spell that could do this would be very helpful in some situations, but not be like an overpowered spell. So I'll write up this, and like, there we go.
Yeah.
And then I come back to it 6 months from now, I'm like, oh my god, that's genius.
And one other thing that I've occasionally done is I will come up with an idea. I'll write it down on paper, and then it'll go through, like it'll become, I might even write it a second time on another sheet of paper, like, let's try work this out a little better. And then from there take it to the computer, and then there like draw up some sketches and stuff like that. So yeah, it may start with just rough sketches on paper, but then that like really terrible, it looks awful on that drawing or whatever, turns into like through a few steps turns into something really great because you bring it and you can modify it, and it becomes.
That said, there's something to be done for about research reading in advance. Like I have an idea of taking the slotted items from like the Diablo series, where you can like socket your items up, and converting that to D&D. Now I did something like that. It took me a little while to get some numbers worked out in 3rd edition, but we're no longer in 3rd edition. We're up to 5th, and so I've got to sit down and I'm doing some research to figure out where the weapons balance is different, because they don't have like +5 weapons anymore. It only goes up to +3 now. And what's the legendary thing? I think I might be able to have an easier time making it now, because I don't have to worry quite so much about what the costs and the numbers.
All right.
So you want something that'll effectively create what used to be the equivalent of a +10 weapon in 3rd edition. That's legendary for 5th edition. So I just legendary, and then figure out what it would cost to find like the gems, or do I put a cost on the gems, or do these special gems only come as like 2 item categories lighter than, or what? So I have to do some research before I like anything like that, because I really got to figure out where it is. I got to figure out the grid before I can traverse across it. So there's something to be said about that, but I really should be taking notes as I'm doing all this research stuff. That way I don't have to retrace my steps as I'm going back and as I'm fully putting it down. So yes, I think I'm also very guilty of this one too. So this is something I should probably make into a wallpaper and just put up on my computer.
I imagine it might help, like if you worked at a company that was creative like Pixar, that might be a little bit of an incentive to be like, no, I'm getting paid to like think up this stuff, so better write it down.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, a lot of the stuff, I figure if it comes into my head from a process of my own thoughts, it is at least partially a passion of mine.
Yeah.
If it doesn't intrigue me, it's just like a shower thought. It goes away when the shower drain gets the rest of the water out. It's like, that's it, man. That's there's no passion in the shower thoughts.
Right.
But if you're sitting there and it's like, this would be a good idea, how would I go about this? That's passion in there. It might not be a great passion. It might not be a passion that will burn the world, but you got to at least respect it. So, if you had the notion come across, you care about it to some degree, and respect that. I should respect my ideas more. I'm sorry. So let's see here. It's number 12. Discount the first thing that comes to mind, and the second, third, fourth, fifth. Get the obvious out of the way. Surprise yourself.
Okay, yeah, that's a little weird, but I think I understand what they're going for.
Okay, well, give your interpretation of that.
I think it's just that, discount the first, second, third, fourth. I guess.
Get the obvious out of the way. Surprise yourself.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because maybe I don't agree with this, because I learned a rule in improv about being obvious and going with the first thing that comes to your head.
Well, fair enough.
But I guess that's different, because that is improv, and storytelling, while it's a little bit, it's very similar, it's very attached. Storytelling is something
you don't
that you can
have the time to do that at improv. You have to do it now for improv. You gotta set that aside. So it doesn't work all the time, is what you're saying.
I don't think so. Yeah, you don't have time in improv. Well, actually, what you could do in improv, I think I've seen people do this before, is you can have an idea. You can say, "Oh, this happens," and then you can sort of say, well, I guess you don't want to overwrite it, because that's saying no, which you're not supposed to do in improv. But you could, in theory, say, no, I changed my mind, this happens. No, I changed my mind, this. No, this. No, this. And that can be a game. I think it's maybe for advanced improvisers, because it is that saying no, which you're
not supposed to do.
Yeah,
that's a no-no.
Your habits, is you're supposed to develop a habit of saying yes. But yeah, when it comes to writing, you're allowed to go back and edit. Did we talk about this in the last podcast? My feeling that your first instinct is probably a good one. Like, you want to be careful about rewrites.
Yes, I believe we did touch on the topic last week.
Yeah, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I always feel that first instinct, there is something to that. So don't necessarily discount that first. The second idea might be worse than the first. And then if you go through like 2, 3, 4 ideas, finally, you can compare them all and say, okay, of all of these, which is the best? Okay, I pick the best.
What if I was to phrase it a different way?
All right.
Did you ever see the Justice League cartoon series, Justice League Unlimited?
I don't think I ever watched a full one, no.
That is harsh, man. That's harsh.
Right.
Okay, so the end of, I think, was it season 4? Luthor and Brainiac have combined together to create the Luthiac, as people wind up calling him.
Okay.
And they're not just, it started off with, Brainiac in Luthor's chest, taking over his body. But then, thanks to the, some nanobots that they showed in, in a previous season, they fully formed as a one cognizant, cohesive being. And they're like, yes, I've come up with the idea. I can, get all the world's information in one moment and then wipe it out in a single thing. That's the power of, a Brainiac with Luthor's vision.
Okay.
Because that's the one thing Brainiac never had, was the vision from a genius like Luthor. Luthor is smart, but he's also got that human, I can come up with a notion. And so he's come up with this device, and the Justice League is trying to stop him. And it's the classic, Core 7, the originals that they have. And to stop them, he uses the nanobot stuff that he's got all around the place, and he creates 5... versions of his Brainiac body. And then he goes, no, I can do better than that. And then he reshapes them with a snap of his fingers, because the nanobots are under his control. And he changes them to the Justice Lords, the evil universe counterparts of them, so the Justice League has to fight their dark selves before getting towards, Luthiac.
Mm-hmm.
And so in which case, Luthor's first thing that came to his mind was create 5 of Brainiacs to fight them. No, I can do better than that. So what if it's that? What if it's not, discount the first thing that comes to your mind? What if it's every idea you have, say, no, I can do better than that?
Yeah, okay.
Because that's when I'm trying my storytelling, especially when I'm doing my little superhero little stuff, I was come up with a concept. No, make it more awesome. I don't go all the way to 5th, but I say to myself, whatever idea you have, say, no, make it more awesome twice. And that way you come up with a really good story.
I do like the thought of, and that's sometimes called, raising the stakes, or, upping the ante, or I think that's the same thing. But, it's that idea.
Play in the big leagues, buddy. Come up with a better idea than that. No, even better than that one.
Yeah, take what you have and sort of one-up it, or take it or up an order of magnitude. take the turn it up to 11, as they say.
Do something
Final
so
Cut.
good you surprise yourself later on when you see what you've written.
Yeah, I can see that. But I don't see that as necessarily discounting that first idea. It's more of a yes and to it. It's like, yes, we have a seed of an idea there, but how we can expand it, we can build it.
Okay, so then instead of discount the first thing, it's revise, expand, make better, improve. Improve the first thing that comes to your mind. Now do it again. That's how we should say it. So we're figuring they're doing pretty good for number 12 here, but we say, instead of discount, say improve the first thing that comes to your mind. Now improve it again.
Yeah, I think
there you
so.
go. Okay. I don't know if you go all the way to 5th. I mean, this is pretty intense stuff, that.
And that seems like a brainstorming exercise. That whole what's obvious and not obvious, and then what's really not obvious, and then what's really not obvious. That seems like that's not necessarily how you want to form your final draft. It's just how you come up with ideas for what's next.
Yeah. I think that one could stand a revision for this discount one.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the
thumbs down on this one.
I'll give it a neutral. It's not a bad idea. I think the discount thing sounds a little negative. You can make it more positive by saying improve the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah, I like it.
Then you sound more
better.
positive.
Yeah. All right.
So there we go.
We're fixing it. Everything.
We're revising.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. Okay. 13. Give your characters opinions. Passive malleable might seem likable to you as you write, but it's poison to the audience.
Yeah.
This is something I do have to work on for my own characters. I find my characters share my sort of opinions more often than not. I should be creating characters who say, I really don't agree with them, but this is how they would see the world.
Yeah, and I tend to create characters that do the right thing, like characters that sort of know what to do in a situation, well,
sometimes it's not always doing the right thing, it's why they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So are you doing it because of the paladin, sort of thing, it is right to do this?
Well, when I say right thing, I mean not rush into a dark room alone and or the horror movie victim that's runs back into the house or stays in the house instead, or doesn't call the police or something.
I'd run away from him, but honestly I'm really bad at cardio, so I'm just gonna lock myself up in my bedroom with no way out, and I'll make certain I'm safe that way.
Yeah, so these kind of those are interesting choices, but if I was writing the character, because when you watch a movie that drives you crazy, what are you doing? Why are you not? There's an obvious. That
used to get me more, but then I said to myself once, "Boy, do you fail your wisdom saving throw?" And it's bam! All of a sudden it's oh, that's just role playing a really bad check. You failed your wisdom checks.
But you just got to remember, as a writer, give your characters that chance to have that
mess up,
or that opinion, or that sort of weird twisted sense of values that's no, I have to go back in there.
Well, that's the thing is because I'm imagining a bit that they used to have one-page adverts for the Marvel characters, and it'd be the character saying something, and it was always from their perspective, and I found that very, very groovy, because there's very much it gets into their head, especially with the Hulk, is gotta stay calm. Gotta resist the urge to smash puny humans, sort of thing. And so it very much gave the sense of just what it was like to be Bruce Banner, always ready to do that. And the one that really got me was Thor, and because it's all written nice artistically along the crackle of lightning as he summons down the thunder, and as once I waged war as a god amongst mortals, but how much greater the valor to fight as a mortal amongst gods. Because at that point in time, he was mortal. So that was kind of his story arc at the time. And so, what if you had a character who did the right thing, not because it was the right thing to do, but because it was a more challenging thing, and they're all about the challenge? What if they're doing the right thing because it's so easy to take the villainous path out?
Yeah.
It's easy to do this, but to go up against organized crime like the Punisher? How this is basically a death sentence. Can you survive it? And this is a person that gets off on being able to say, yeah, I did it, and I thrived. What would kill anyone else? I succeeded.
Yeah, and that's an opinion that the character can have that I would be I wouldn't do that.
Well, you get to play someone who's crazy nuts. What the are you thinking? There's no way you're going to get out of this. I gotta try, because it's just the more challenging way of doing it.
Yeah.
So you have a chaotic good sort of chaotic neutral sort of style going on for the character. It's an opinion like that. They still do the right thing, but why? You can change the character a lot. That said, I really do need to focus more on some villain characters and really get into their heads and give them different opinions and find some way to like them and hate them at the same time. Like, I respect them for this, but I really hate their opinions here. And then I got to role-play that through to conclusion. I got to break this out. And so I think that's a good idea. Giving the characters opinions, I think it's a lot easier to do in 5th edition with their character traits and flaws.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot more definitively styled than ever before for Dungeons and Dragons, and I think it's something that could play very well across all games and genres.
Yeah.
So yeah, I give this one thumbs up.
Okay.
Number 13 is all right in my book.
We're not actually keeping track of these.
No.
But
Why must you tell this story? Number 14. Why must you tell this story? What's the belief burning within you that your story feeds off of? That's the heart of it. Why do you have to tell this story? And I read this one, in advance or things, so I get better inflections about it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that because, I got an idea for Nanowrimo this year. I got an idea.
Excuse me.
I got an idea, and this is I think going to be a good idea. And I'm sorry, it occurred to me, it's like, why must I tell this story? I'm like, because there are themes about disposability and immortality I must discuss, where both ends of the spectrum wind up in a similar circumstance, but completely differently. And it's like, that's the heart of it.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the concept is going to be like a buddy team-up sort of thing. You get like a secret agent who has like a cloned body. He just keeps on they've saved his brain imprint sort of thing, and they can basically print him out anytime they need him. It takes about a week to do, but they can print him out anytime they need him. He is the ultimate in disposability, but he's also incredibly immortal in this case. Kill him as many times you want, he'll be back again next week. And if you make sure to give him enough advance thing where they start a new body every day, he can come back tomorrow.
Well, that's cool.
And always from the save point, effectively, but he's effectively immortal. And then you've got a vampire who is immortal, but has to very much protect himself.
So what do you believe this says about the world?
Oh,
I'm just curious.
The belief that's burning within me is that, people want to become immortal. Everyone's like, oh yes, the goal of all medicine is for everybody to become functionally immortal. And I'm like, dude, there's trade-offs. I mean, the biggest trade-off is if you want to live forever, you have to eat like you're going to live forever. Say goodbye to your hamburgers. Say goodbye to your double cheeseburgers. Say goodbye to all your carbonated beverages. If you are going to live forever, you're going to have to eat like you're going to live forever. And from the people I see out and about on the average, walk outside my apartment here, they are not eating like they want to live forever. So I believe there's a lot of people say immortality is what we are all going for. Yeah. Nobody's really giving a try for it, and I want to show the upsides and downsides and what you have to really do to be this immortal.
Ray Kurzweil is doing his best to eat a diet that is very much designed for longevity.
In that case, I think he deserves immortality more than the average. He deserves immortality more than I do.
Because he's working for it?
Because he's actually giving a darn and doing something about it. Yes.
I guess in some ways I would say every human being sort of deserves not to die. But
I have to say, sadly, everybody deserves what they do to themselves. If you shoot yourself up with drugs, you deserve to have the issues with drug use.
I wouldn't agree with that.
If you eat 7 cheeseburgers at once, you deserve at the very least indigestion, possibly getting your entire insides gummed up, and you deserve to have the free radicals in your system because that's what you're doing to yourself. You are not doing this because you just don't know better. There's no excuse, especially in this age of internet.
Well,
when I eat unhealthy, I know exactly what I'm doing to myself.
And it's a case of just sort of that's reality. But
when I don't brush my teeth at night, I know I am slowly rotting these things. These 32 teeth in my skull, I am rotting them every time I decide to not brush them. And I tell myself when I'm going to bed, I'm too tired to brush my teeth. No, you are choosing to rot your teeth. You are choosing to have a bunch of missing teeth as an old man and possibly dentures, and you are doing that to yourself.
But when you say something like people deserve it, I guess you're introducing almost a supernatural aspect to it.
They deserve it in the fact that they're consciously doing it to themselves. You cannot escape what you do to yourself. You do not deserve to get hit by a car because you didn't do anything to get hit by a car, unless you're dancing out in the middle of traffic. You don't deserve that.
So if somebody goes, let's say somebody is, I don't know, for some reason decides to run across a busy street and does get hit by a car.
they should have been at the crosswalk.
They deserved.
They are not. Well, they're probably not. Like solely the responsible one. I mean, the person driving the car has some responsibility as well in that.
Yeah.
But you don't deserve to get hit. As you're crossing the crosswalk when the light's in your favor. You don't deserve that. That's nothing anyone deserves. Even Hitler, I'm going to say, didn't deserve that.
Didn't deserve.
I don't think it ever happened to him. But if it did happen to him, even he didn't deserve that.
Deserved some other things, but
he deserves a lot of other stuff. He deserves a lot of comeuppance, but not that. But that said, you decide to eat 4 Twinkies a day for 20 years. You kind of deserve the the gut and the hypertension and maybe even the diabetes because you did it to yourself.
I don't feel
and
the same way.
That's what I want to. I was trying to get out there. It's like if you want to be this immortal, if you want this wonderful thing of immortality in my story, that I'm going to say, you're going to have to live with it. You're going to have to live with the consequences of it because you make the choice. This guy decides to make the choice to become like a disposable like James Bond. And so he's immortal, but he's also infinitely disposable. Because okay, your mission's done. Boom, I'll get a fresh one when I need him. He's immortal, but he's also infinitely disposable. So I want to tell that story. It's like if you're going to go down these routes, you got to know. You got to be okay with what you're in there.
Yeah, well, that's why we tell stories. We tell stories almost as cautionary tales, or like what to do and what not to do to stay alive.
I'm a little sad and depressed at seeing all these morality tales. It's like, oh yeah, because you decide to have premarital sex, now the killer's got to get you.
Well, isn't that what you're doing with this guy?
No. In that case, this is saying something like if you have sex before marriage. For a lot of these, slasher flicks that since the 80s have been out and about. Yeah. If you decide to have this premarital sex, you are gonna get killed by a crazy man, possibly wearing a hockey mask. Ah!
Like, isn't it interesting though? Like, would your story be like, oh yeah, no, you get pregnant and now you have to marry each other and sort of have work a crappy job to try and support this kid? Is that your version?
No, in this case it would be more like you knew what you were getting into sort of thing with this. Mm-hmm. You have made the choice to do this. Like you have made the choice to get a tattoo. Now you got to live with having a tattoo.
Yeah.
Before the days of tattoo removal, laser technology.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, you want a tattoo, you got to live with having a tattoo. You got to do that.
So if you want to have premarital sex, you got to live with having a kid?
Potential consequences of a kid being there. That said, I mean, we are living in a day and age when a lady is allowed to make a choice. If she wants to have although that said, the guy doesn't have any choice. If the lady wants to abort and the guy wants the kid, he has no say on that.
That's true.
As it should be, because you can't force someone else's body, to obey your whims.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So, yeah. That's the essence that's burning within the story I want to write for Nanowrimo, thoho. And
right,
that's
okay.
And because I read this, it's like, yes, now I have a better concept of like, what is the core of my story? Why did I come up with this concept and suddenly say, I gotta say this, I gotta make some notes, I gotta make sure I plan everything out right, but this is what I gotta write for NaNoWriMo. This is a story
so
I can
write.
When I
say something like immortality has these kinds of consequences.
The pursuit of immortality demands sacrifices of some sort.
All right. And you'll explain what sort of sacrifices in the book.
Well, I mean, if you're a vampire, vampires are a nice, easy one to understand. You're immortal, but you got to drink blood. You can't go out in the daytime, and good luck eating anything, especially anything with garlic in it. That's the consequences you got to deal with if you want to live forever as a vampire.
Just in case anyone reads your book and then happens to later on become a vampire.
I think anyone who consciously decides to try and become a vampire should know what they're getting into.
Well, unless it's talking about the real world where you can't become a vampire.
Give it 5-10 years with a good grant, and we'll see what we can do about cobbling something up.
Okay.
It's not always supernatural vampires,
Oh, okay.
I don't think blood requirements are going to be there. Very, very hard to do. But yeah, what do you think? Ask yourself, why do I have to tell this story?
Yeah, I think you hit it out of the park with your example. I think that's what you do. Yeah.
And that said, if you're out there listening and you're reading a book, sort of thing, think about the book you're reading right now and say to yourself, why did he have to write this story? What's the story being told here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what people sometimes call the moral of the story, which, I don't know, people sometimes don't like. But I think every story, like, at the end of it, you can say, well, what did I learn from this? Or, what would I do different than the main character? Or how could they have avoided that? and sometimes
here's the thing: you're done in the book, and you say like why did the guy have to tell the story? And you say, I don't know. Did you really read the story? Were you really paying attention, or were you just like fast food digestion? No. I consume the book now. I'm on to the next one.
Yeah.
Think about that, man. So let's see here. 15.
Okay, moving on.
If you were your character in this situation, how would you feel? Honesty lends credibility to unbelievable situations.
Okay, so this is the flip side of the opinionated one.
Well, I guess sort of thing. It's like put yourself in the character. You know, just slot your brain into the character. How would you feel in this sort of situation?
Okay, yeah. How would I feel? Which is different from how they would act or what their opinion would be. It was just how would they? Yeah, what would be?
Or as the character sort of thing. I suppose you could even work it as like how are they feeling about this sort of thing? Because honestly, it's easy to tell a story like this person did this and this person did this and this happened at the end. But to get into this, how do you feel about this? It really makes sure that you're understanding that this isn't just a story you're telling. These are people in the story that are having things happen to them.
I think in D&D, this is a very easy thing we almost naturally do because we identify with one single character in the game. When you're playing Dungeons & Dragons,
it is a lot easier for D&D.
You're one character, and I've been in this situation where I've had my character, something happen to them, and I felt I felt it in my heart or whatever in my throat. It's like, what? No, that can't happen to my character. No.
What do you mean? I rolled wrong on the. Was it? I think the worst table for rolling a bad on was the that one druid resurrection table, where you became a different race.
Oh yeah.
No. What do you mean? I'm a barbarian pixie. Oh.
At another time, I had my character was accused of stealing or something like that.
Yeah, that was with Adam. He accused all of us of stealing. He was just trying to pin everything on everyone else, man.
Yeah. But I remember the character was like, no, no, I'm not a thief. I'm not a... Meanwhile, I'm not a thief, I'm a rogue.
Yeah, you had a very unfortunate class to be having that pinned with. I mean, he tried pinning it on me. I was playing like a wizard. He's like, no, I won't do as you say. I'm no longer under your mind control. It's like, buddy, as soon as they look the other way, I'm going to fireball. I don't care if I go to jail for it. I'm going to make sure you do not get out scot-free. So yeah, keep yourself in the character's shoes, so to speak. Put your head into theirs. Mm-hmm. And I think that'll definitely create much more realistic situations in that people can understand the character, and if you can consider it like a plot latch or not a plot latch. Let's call this a relatability hook.
Okay.
So the audience reading it, it's like, I've experienced these sorts of emotions. They're acting in a very realistic way. If I was in that sort of situation, I'd be feeling like that too.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're hooked. They're hooked. They're related to the character, and then congratulations, you can take them through these unbelievable situations. And you know what? They're okay with it because it's like, yes, as long as you can understand A to B to C to D, how they got there, go for it. Yeah. So I think that's a very good one, especially for the more novice writers who are more interested in how the plot flows as opposed to just how the characters are reacting within them.
Yeah, and this one also might be a good second pass question to ask, you could imagine you've written a first draft of a short story or a novel or something like that, and you go through each one of these rules, you read your story again to each rule and check, go through the whole thing and see if you've met that rule, and eventually you come to this rule and okay, now I'm going to read through the whole thing and check how the characters I think are feeling. And at that point, hopefully, if you do your job well as a storyteller, you're probably already doing that. You probably already feel that naturally.
That's it. I think the first impulse for a lot of novice writers is to have the characters react, as in they do something, not react as in they feel in a way. And this is a very good reminder to say, reacting isn't just, and then you're like, oh my goodness, zombies, I shoot them in the head. So let's work it this way, I suppose. Call of Cthulhu zombies, for the old Chaosium stuff. It was, oh my god, a zombie, run, it's driving us insane. Call of Cthulhu for the D20 experience was zombies, reload.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a difference. So for a lot of more novice writers, it's this happens and then the characters react as in they do something. Whereas with the Chaosium rules, It was like zombie. It's devouring my sanity before it devours my flesh. In which case, the characters react to it in an emotional way, although maybe more, stat-based sanity effects.
Okay, now I have a question for you on this topic, though, and I have an answer in mind already, but I'll ask you.
Okay.
Like, do you think that it might sort of bog a story down? Like, I've heard people complain about this before. If you, every single action, you stop to assess the emotions, like, oh, okay, and then this happened. How did he feel about it?
If the plot is moving at such a pace where a person would only have time to react, as in physically react to it, then what you could do is just wind up saving it all up until, like, okay, and then the action scene is done, and then the person has to, like, mentally unload everything, in which case it does, there's people like, oh my goodness, like 9/11's happened, like the towers have gone down, we gotta go save it, and it's not until like even like a week later when everything's over and done with it, they finally just like, oh my god, I went through all that stuff, and then it's just like mentally just all the luggage that they've been carrying with them, just luggage all over the floor. Post-traumatic stress disorder is like a very good example of being overloaded by that, where you have to react and you don't get the chance to emotionally react.
But that would be some very heavy reading. It's like, movies that are very, like, dramatically, like, impactful, I guess. Yeah. It's not always the easiest thing to take in.
I would like to see a little bit more of my fantasy novels, though. Yeah. I've seen read a lot of stories where people like wind up hack and slash, the lizard man, the draconians, this and that, and they wind up killing a lot of like what are very, unarguably sentient beings. Mm-hmm. Like, where's the guy afterwards? Like it was another like sentient person. I had to kill it to survive, but why? Why did I have to kill them so bad? Where's the post-traumatic stress on these heroes, like that feel remorse over killing another living thing? I don't see that like anywhere near as bad. It's like, oh, it was a troll, so don't feel bad because it's not a person. It's like, well, congratulations, you've just like dehumanized like a sentient being.
Yeah, that's a problem that we have in fantasy a lot, and it just gets glazed over, I guess, is that sort of semi-humans get, dehumanized, like these trolls and goblins.
It's okay to kill a troll, but it's not okay to kill a dwarf, because, a dwarf's like a real person. Troll's not, man. Troll's like a monster. It just happens to be very humanoid in shape.
Yeah, exactly.
So this one's, I think, a very good one for aspiring fantasy writers. It's like, put a little bit more like the real world realism in there, have the people react normally, and then all of a sudden it's like oh, you don't feel the same way about ever wanting to kill, air quotes, the green skin again. Yeah. It's like, oh, that was like a person, like sentient, like
and
harsh.
One other thing about writing and filmmaking, I suppose, and comic books for that matter, is it mentions how characters feel, which doesn't necessarily have to be sort of a narrative, and then he felt very sad inside, and then you can even be a little bit flowery, like he felt extremely dejected, throw in a metaphor like a so-and-so, this and that. But the other thing you can do, especially if you have visuals available, is like do body language.
Oh yes, describe it. Like instead of saying he was very sad, like have the person start crying and say, you could write down like the shudders came involuntarily, with the tears, sure. And then you can go a little prosaic and say, they began to flow down the cheeks like rain down the windowsill.
Yeah, and I suppose like you could, if you're having fun with it, you could have, like in cartoons, the atmosphere will change, like it'll cloud over. Dark. Or
you want a good bit for that? Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh yeah, like we're rubber nipple salesmen selling like the rubber nipple for like the baby bottles, right?
Yeah.
And then they're asking the horse, like, do you need any rubber nipples? And the horse is thinking, no, I don't. And then he holds up like a wall somehow, like because he's got a hoof sort of thing.
Right.
But he holds up like a walrus and goes, do you got any rubber walrus protectors? And then you get the music going. As the walrus just stares straight at you through the screen and goes, call the police. And it's like, whoa, that is like a serious downshift, man. That's like changing gears there. It's like, whoa, that was creepy, man. It still gets me, man. I see the walrus's eyes burning into mine still, man, if I think about it.
Okay, yes.
But, yeah.
Shall we move on?
On to the next one. 16.
Number 16.
What are the stakes? Give us reason to root for the character. What happens if they don't succeed? Stack the odds against.
All right, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good to me. I like, and not necessarily that. We talk about world-shattering stakes sometimes in the podcast. How it doesn't necessarily have to be the world-shattering, although sometimes that's cool.
Sometimes it hits closer if it's more personal. It's like, okay, the world blows up if you get this wrong. Oh, okay, we gotta get this right. Like, if you get this wrong, your family dies. Like, no, man, my family. No, you can't do that. It's like your family would have died with the world. Were you not thinking about that? It's like, if it's just your family, you get that narrow focus going on.
It's an interesting question, though. Like, would I rather, like, if given the choice between, like, everybody I've ever known and loved, which not the whole planet is fine, or
if you push the red button, Josh, the entire world blows up.
Yeah.
However, you push the green button, and just your family blows up.
Well, I mean, my family, like, I was thinking, I might trade them for the world. But hopefully they're not listening. Just, I don't know, on a practical level. But I was thinking, like, what if it was my family plus, every friend I've ever had, like, just all the connections I've ever made, basically.
Your entire social web just goes up in flames.
Yeah, and sort of, and maybe leaves me adrift in a foreign country not knowing anybody.
You wake up in the back streets of Calcutta.
Yeah. I can't remember the scenario.
Hey, that's actually not a bad, premise for like a book, man.
Mm-hmm.
Guy had to make the choice instead of the world blowing up, and he sacrifices his entire social network.
Yeah.
Maybe not they're all dead, but all of a sudden, dude, for some reason, nobody recognizes him anymore, and he wakes up one day in a completely foreign location. He's got no connections, no one he can trust, no money, and he's in a foreign country.
Yeah. Well, it would depend on the country. I mean, 12 Years a Slave is kind of that story, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's
I guess he didn't have to make the choice, though. He just ended up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a very nice way to a nice dry opening sort of thing. Wake up in let's just make it Dublin. You wake up in Dublin.
Okay, sure.
There you go.
I imagine, like I was just thinking, like which countries would it be okay to? I think like in the United Kingdom, I think it would pretty much be fine because you would immediately start to, because countries have like welfare or social programs that even sometimes the church in some cases, sometimes not, but
okay. How about something with a bit more of a language barrier? You wake up in Poland, somewhere in Poland.
Yeah, that's a little bit more like a little bit scarier, I guess.
Or how about on the other side of the Iron Curtain sort of thing? You wake up in Moscow.
Well, I don't think there is an Iron Curtain anymore, but yes, Moscow would also be.
I think whatever they've got behind the curtain is at least metal studded. Their invasion right now is definitely not anything that's supposed to be modern. That's very much a like an Iron Curtain technique.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be an interesting thing, story to have.
There you go.
But I don't like. That's a question I have. Like, is that choice that you had to make at the beginning? Does that matter anymore? Like, once you start telling the story,
you got to live with it. You got to live with the fact that you like consciously just made the choice to get rid of all your friends and family, man. Yeah,
but is that you're starting in, and I would assume sort of in the natural progression of stories.
What if it's like a curse or a thing, you open like a mummy's sarcophagus or thing, and like now you're cursed. If you make any friends or have any like relations or thing, that person will die within a year.
Okay.
You can never have a friend. You can never take a lover, or they'll be dead within 12 months.
That would be kind of interesting, and give you why not throw a superpower in there? Just for fun.
You get a bonus or thing.
I don't know.
It'd be awesome.
It's not like flight or super strength, but maybe something like invisibility or stealth.
How about reading minds? That way you get to know when they become too close, and then you suddenly realize, they think I'm their friend. They're doomed from this moment on. That way,
you can't change it. And then
they thought you're the friend, man. It's too late, man. As soon as they had that, this guy's pretty awesome. I like hanging out with him. Bam! That's a 12-month mark, man. You are dead within 1 year now. And you get to hear it in your head, that moment when it becomes too late to save them.
Except, no, I kind of prefer the ambiguity. Just, I feel like that's more interesting.
Well, I figure that way it's a superpower that's actually a curse. It's just, you can use it as a power, but it's really meant to be a curse. You know when it winds up being that they caused their own demise by liking you too much.
So you hire yourself as a hitman, but the only way that you can cause someone to die. Like you're an assassin, but your method of assassination is to befriend them.
See, there you go. Doesn't that make for a much more unique assassin type?
Well, maybe, yeah. I think that could be good.
There you go. I think we've come up with a very interesting.
There's raising the stakes for you.
Yeah. That's the raised stakes there, and you can never have a friend again. Bam. I do like this one. I think it's, especially, 5th edition is very much stated, make sure there are repercussions. If the characters fail, something happens. It's not just like the villain just continues going back to work. Yeah. Something bad is going to happen if they do not save the day. I think that's a very good one to remember. Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to what I was saying about earlier, about the guy who's doing it just, do it because it's a harder challenge this way. Is the stakes are actually kind of minor, but you stack the odds against. He stacks his own odds against him. He does it on purpose. You can't stack the odds against me. I stack the odds against me. Don't you tell me what odds are against me. I'm deciding this. Yeah. So I kind of like that one because I've already technically mentioned it. But yeah, give us a reason to root for the character, because that way you could turn like a jerk character into a hero. Like this guy, let's say Ebenezer Scrooge. Before the ghost visit him, he's pretty much a jerk, man. Nobody liked him. He was just an old skinflint. Even his nephew gave it a try, but even he wasn't trying very hard to help out, old Scrooge. But now let's put Scrooge in a different situation where, I don't know, Steampunky's got to save the Queen, or I don't know, what age was Christmas Carol, in 1880s? Otherwise, Spain
1800s.
Winds up taking over the colonies or something like that.
Right.
So in which case, if Scrooge doesn't save the day, the Americas are going to wind up all being Spanish, and they're going to be like a colony of like Greater Spain if he doesn't save the day. And this crazy, stupid war, like fiction story I'm making up here is like Ebenezer Scrooge winds up being the guy you root for. Why? Because of the stakes. There you go.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. And so that way you can write a jerk and have people still root for him. Hooray! Mm-hmm. Heck, maybe that's one of the reasons I like Rorschach so much, is the stakes against him for keeping his values were basically, he's going to wind up dying for it. Mm-hmm. But I rooted for him because, not because, I hoped he'd succeed against the odds, but because of he took the stance for, I will not, my morality will not be bent by this. I will remain who I am. You cannot change me. You got to blow me up instead. So yeah, in that case, I rooted for him, despite the fact he is not a person I would like in real life. He's a person I would very heavily try and make sure he gets himself medicated and behind bars. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like that one. It's a nice way to help get an unlikable person liked. Woo. 17. No work is ever wasted. If it's not working, let go and move on. It'll come back around to be useful later. Damn straight, yeah, very much so.
Writing, in other words.
Writing, idea, anything that comes up, because if you come up with an idea, there's a notion in your head, I have this one moment, the one scene, just the one picture shot of a moment. Mm-hmm. That's not wasted, provided you can come back around to it at some point later. Write it down. Go back to the previous one. Write it down so you don't forget about it. Yeah. But as long as you can keep that one moment in there, it's not a wasted moment. It's not wasted work. Mm-hmm. It's just on a very far back burner sometimes.
It's funny, sometimes if you follow a particular creator, I guess Dan Harmon comes to mind, the creator of the Community television show and also Rick and Morty cartoon show. Uh-huh. If you really get into his work and you're a big fan of him and follow him and on his podcast Harmontown and stuff like that, you will eventually begin to see recurring elements. You'll be like, oh, I remember that, and he reused that idea, or he reused that sort of twist, or that situation that he had thought of. So yeah, you see things pop up in a person's career.
I think the Foglios work well for that one too. Phil and Kasia Foglio, particularly because a lot of their work is for free on the Girl Genius website. But they recycle names, they recycle heroes. They recycle concepts, too, and you can see that if you read back to some of their older works from the 80s. You can see they did one short story about there's a seedy tavern somewhere in the universe, and a good guy comes on in. He's a hero, and it winds up being that despite the fact this is a very seedy bar and the odds are stacked against them, the hero can't lose because they've got the hero's thing. And an immortal winds up telling the owner of the bar, you're not going to win against him. He's a hero. He's got the hero's resolve. He's going to win. He's going to trash your bar. And so what they wind up doing is they say, okay, fine, I'll shunt him somewhere else in the universe. He's effectively immortal. I can't win against him. So the best thing to do is take him off the board. Right. And what they effectively wound up doing is taking that concept of a person who can win despite the odds, who's effectively immortal. They've reused him as Othar Tryggvason, the gentleman adventurer in the Girl Genius series. They've taken the concept of the evil Dr. Mongfish, and they've used that as part of Agatha Heterodyne's family tree from her mother's side. She's the Lucretia Mongfish. And her dad is the evil, nefarious Dr. Mongfish. And so they recycle those ideas and those names and the styles. And I do recommend that because, one, very good writing, any which way you slice it. Two, it's free. So, all it costs you is the internet connection, buddy. And three, it gives you a chance to really see how they've refined the idea from just like a hero shows up in a bar and gets into a fight, being such a hero that he's trying to stop all the villainous ways, but he can't beat him because he's the hero, into something a lot more likable for Othar. People love Othar. He gets into wonderful, crazy circumstances, and it seems like despite the fact he's a good guy, people keep pushing him out of airships.
Okay.
Is the first time Agatha, winds up meeting with him, her love interest winds up kicking him out of an airship, and she gets really upset about it. And when she makes her break, sort of thing, like, oh, there's Othar there, he survived it. What does she wind up doing? Pushing him out of that airship. Not 5 minutes later, she winds up having to apologize next time she meets her love interest there, Gil. She's like, I'm sorry, I pushed him out within 5 minutes myself. I'm sorry, I got mad at you about that.
Well, isn't that more of a running gag, though?
A bit of a running gag sort of thing, but, he's also, effectively immoral. Yeah, I just push him out of a plane, he'll be all right. Okay. He's got that hero's resolve. No matter what happens, you can't defeat him. He's the hero.
Okay, yeah.
So they managed to reuse that work, and it comes back around later, and they wind up creating one of their fan-favorite characters that way. So, congratulations. If you can keep the essence of the character and find another way to make him more likable, definitely the work is not lost for the character.
Yeah, but I think, that can work, and that, especially in a comedy, because it can be a gag. Yeah. But sometimes it happens, I think Tintin sometimes happens,
They shoot him an awful lot, but he just keeps moving, man.
There would be a plot that would be very similar, or, it would seem repetitious sometimes. And that's maybe not necessarily the best thing if you're repeating plots over again.
Maybe it's time to take a bit of a hiatus, get some fresh ideas, go out, do something in the world.
Yeah, I was thinking, I think the essence of this advice, this particular bullet point of advice, is more the fact that you keep that in your own sort of notes, in your own creative, if you have a folder or notebook. So,
as long as you got the notion in there, you got that mental image, as I said, that mental photograph of that one scene that says, yes, this is something I want, this is an awesome scene. It's not lost. It's something you can come back to when it's like, oh, I'm kind of written myself in, and you browse your notes. Yes, this would work perfect. Yeah. Think of it as a puzzle piece. Anything that comes up for a concept or idea, any work becomes a puzzle piece. It just so happens the puzzle is infinitely large. You just got to keep going, and you can come back to it sometime and slot it in. So how's that about thinking about it?
Yeah, I
work
think that works.
As puzzle pieces. It's not a misplaced puzzle piece. It's just it goes in somewhere else later on.
Yeah, you might have to cut a corner off with a jigsaw.
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes you got to fudge it. All right, point 18. We're down to the final four now. You have to know yourself. The difference between doing your best and fussing. Story testing, not refining. Definitely, yes. You have to know when you're trying to improve and when you're just fiddling around with it. Yeah, I'm a victim of that myself. There have been times I'll effectively rewrite an entire paragraph, do almost nothing different aside from write it in a way that I think flows a little smoother. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But I'll go over that 4 or 5 times, man. You do not need to go over some of these paragraphs 4 or 5 times to make it flow as smooth as possible.
I suppose, yeah. You got to move on and do other things, because if you're writing, especially if you're writing something longer, you can't just spend forever on it, just a little bit. So.
But yeah, story testing, not refining. Sometimes well, here's the thing. Which do you prefer to have just purely on your tongue there, Josh? Brown sugar or white sugar?
Uh-huh.
You've never tried?
I mean, I like them both.
Oh, but which would you rather have, the refined white sugar or the somewhat coarser black sugar? The brown sugar and all that.
I've never even thought of it.
Oh.
I don't know.
Brown sugar's got more flavor, more taste. It has more of a granulated texture, but there's also a lot more flavor in there. When it's the refined white sugar, it's just sugar flavor in there. The brown sugar's got almost a molasses flavor there. That's very good.
Okay.
Not that I advocate, it's just pile a bunch of sugar on your tongue.
Do it once.
Yeah, do it as a taste comparison so you know the difference. Definitely helps you with learning how to cook a little bit better. Sometimes you want to use the refined sugar, sometimes you don't. Cookies refined sugar in most cases, but if you're cooking like a saucy dish, the brown sugar is usually the better way to go.
So,
especially if you're doing something like a glazed sauce, like you're putting on something on like a fancy ice cream, brown sugar, not the refined white stuff.
So you're saying that like writing that's a little bit unpolished might be okay?
You get a little bit more flavor out of it. A properly, completely refined, perfectly polished story is going to have that extra polish appeal to it. And it's going to it's very good. But you see the coarse one, it's like, a little bit more of a visceral oomph to it.
Yeah,
it
might have some dialectical irregularities that kind of work to
I've got like, I got a sense like, I'm like, I can feel the texture of this person's brain as they write this way.
Yeah.
Whereas perfectly refined, it's smooth. You can't get a sense of like the writer's mindset that way. It's too perfect.
And this is another thing, like, are we talking about sort of mixing up characters or forgetting, like, if the name changes partway through, like that sort of detail?
That's pretty bad. You got to keep the name the same way unless the person perfectly changes their name, or maybe you have a character that's an alien whose name changes based with time, so they never have the same name any 2 weeks in a row. So their name is always constantly mutating within the set of a certain parameter. So it's got like a mathematical formula, and you're only ever seeing the end result of the equation, but time is one of the X variables within it.
Because, it's always interesting to learn...
I like that. I'm putting a pin in that. That's an idea for myself for later.
Very good. It's always interesting to learn what an author had originally as a name for a character. Like, we looked at Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and Aragorn had a different name, or Aragorn's name was Frodo.
Here's the thing. One of Luke Skywalker's previous names was Luke Starkiller.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't seem as passive and as
heroic. But it tells you more about Lucas's thoughts process.
I'm the Star Killer. Like, no. Skywalker. It's like more of a journey that way. Yes. And he seems much more good and passive that way. He's very good. And less aggressive. I like that. So yeah, do work on some refining, but remember, after a certain point, you start losing as well. And that's where you get to the fussing.
Yeah, you gotta know where that... I guess you just have to have an instinct for that sort of thing.
Or keep the previous copy and figure, like, is this technically better or worse? And as soon as you realize, I'm not really improving it much, cut that one, go back to the previous one, and then go on to the next scene. Alright. 19. Coincidences to get characters into trouble are great. Coincidences to get them out of trouble are cheating.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, as a reader, I know that's not very satisfying when they just happen to resolve. Sometimes you can't avoid it.
I see it in the kitty cartoon shows. I've been seeing that for 30 years now. Yeah. And I'm watching it again with my daughter shows. It's like, sometimes playing into it is good. I remember one episode of Street Sense. It was a Canadian-made program. Jonathan Torrens was on there. Very good stuff. The one character, Ken, was needed money. He was like, he's got to try to get a lot of money really quickly. And how do they get him, the situation at the end? His identical good brother, the good twin, something that rhymed with Ken, because, twins got to have rhyming names, decided to come by and give him, here's a belated birthday present for you, have a ridiculously large ball of cash. And there's literally just a ball, nearly spherical ball of 5s and 10s to give him. And that's all that. So it's a coincidence. That way it played into it so heavily and contrived. It was hilarious. Here, have a ridiculously large ball of cash. So if you're going to do a coincidence to get them out of trouble, it's like baseball. Sometimes you have to lean into the pitch and get hit by it. Oh, you hit me. Now I got to walk my base. Doing that to get it, you can't just have a coincidence get them out. It's very unsatisfying to the reader. If you're going to do it, go all the way in, man. Just mark it as how bad it is. At least roll with it.
Yeah, well, that could be a general point about breaking rules in that, especially in comedies, you can get away with breaking rules if you say, yeah, we're breaking this rule, but hey, look how fun we're having.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, like your character just has the coincidence getting him out of trouble. It's like, boy, I certainly am happy that got out there, but it's a good thing, this isn't a TV show, or boy, would everyone watching be completely unsatisfied with this conflict resolution.
Yeah, hang a
roll into it, though. Yeah, hang a lampshade. That said, I'm never too huge on coincidences getting characters into trouble. But it's a lot better than a character getting himself into trouble week after week on a TV series. So, coincidences I will allow a lot more leniency for. That said, mix it up. Sometimes it's not always coincidence. Sometimes the character gets their comeuppance for a character flaw. Sometimes they have to deal with it. Don't always make it a coincidence.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's just my varieties of spice of life sort of thing. Go for that.
Yeah.
20. Exercise. Take the building blocks of a movie you dislike. How'd you rearrange them into what you do like? I think this one's a very good one myself. So you do an exercise. You watched a movie you disliked. It's like, God, I hated that movie. I, for instance, have an absolute hate passion for the movie Summer of Sam. It is the only movie I've never seen the full version of. I've never, it was so bad I had to stop. The only movie, and I've seen some pretty bad movies. I watched Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
I saw Howard the Duck multiple times. I was okay with that. Summer of Sam, I had to stop. I didn't care about anything that was going on except for the crazy guy with the talking dog. So yeah, as an exercise, let's take the building blocks of the movie I disliked, Summer of Sam. How would I rearrange them into what I do like? Focus more on the serial killer and his craziness. Because I gotta say, like the one scene where the guy's, it's like, it does a slow pan through his apartment where he's writing all this stuff. And that's actually what they did. Like when they got to the Son of Sam killer, they went to his apartment. It was like crazy scribblings on the wall, man. It was like, these are the ramblings of a madman. And so, yeah, it's patting along that sort of thing, and he's all in the corner, and a dog comes into the room. He's like, it's the dog from the neighbor, and he shot the dog like weeks ago because the dog kept barking. He's like, no, I shot you. And the dog looks at him and he goes, I want you to kill them. I want you to kill them all. And it was like such a creepy scene, seeing the dog talk. The dead dog he shot a week ago comes in and tells him he has to kill them all. So I would like to see a lot more perspective of the mindset of like what it's doing, like the horrible nature of the mind of the serial killer, and maybe more of mindset for what's going on with the people who have to put up with this frightful summer where there's a serial killer on the loose. I would like to see that played out more than. Let's see. I think there was one plot line was a guy was having an affair with his wife's cousin. There was a guy who was a transsexual who was leading a double life. He had to be the person he really was, but that was not socially acceptable today, so he had to go off and all that. And people thought he might be the killer because he's sneaking off in the middle of the night. That was the bit that was getting me, and they wind up like beating the crud out of him because it's like, oh, you must be the killer. You're sneaking off at night. It's like, no, I just like wearing dresses. Please leave me be. So that bit was okay. So I'd keep that bit. Maybe rework it a little bit to highlight the double life he's leaving. Like one, he's leaving the one life and he's going on to the next one every night, and how other people are seeing that, as well as the suspense of like, I'm living in a city where there's a serial killer on the loose. I would like to see them feature that. So that's the exercise I'm getting out of that. And now I'm suddenly more okay with having wasted the time on a movie I absolutely despised.
That's true. Yeah. I will say, like, I have never watched an entire movie that I hated all of, and in fact, most movies I like sort of the general, like, I don't care, the structure seems fine. I can always pick out little things, like, oh, I wish that hadn't happened, or I wish they'd done that a little different, but yeah, I don't
So
really
you are always rearranging a movie into something you would like even more.
Maybe, like, piece-wise, yeah, like little piece at a time. I don't rearrange an entire movie that way. Maybe I should learn to think about entire movies, but yeah.
Okay, well, that's not bad. I mean, scene for scene also works as well as movie for movie.
Yeah.
But some people say, I hated that movie. Ugh, it's horrible.
Yeah. Well, some people will watch an ending and they don't like the ending, and that ruins the entire movie for them. They're like, I wasted the whole movie. Well,
Well,
if you
sometimes
have fun,
TV series too. I mean, they don't always end on the highest note.
Yeah, if you were enjoying that whatever you had for the first half of the movie,
I still say the second Matrix movie was great if you cut out the last 5 minutes. Cut that out, put a new ending there, and that is an amazing movie.
Or just fade to black at some point in the movie, as well, and that's part of rearranging, I guess.
And that's what I wound up doing. Is in my mind, the Matrix series ends 5-10 minutes before the end of the second movie, and it's a great movie then. Yeah, that's all it takes, man. The third movie wasn't bad, and it's just I preferred the more gritty street style to like the superhero fighting. That said, very good proof of concept on that one. You want to see a good superhero fight scene? Watch the third movie and what it's like to have two superheroes fighting, where effectively the entire world is nothing but cardboard. So there's that. If nothing else, you get that out of that movie. So hey, redeeming feature. 21. You have to identify with your situation and characters. Can't just write cool. What would make you act that way?
Okay.
So you can't have characters. You can't just. Okay, I think a nice way of rearranging this is some people for their gaming stuff they write. My character's a badass, and so what they basically have is just imagine a cardboard plank with a face on it, with a little word balloon underneath going, I'm a badass.
Okay.
They're not acting like a badass. There's nothing that gives you any indication aside from them saying, hey, this dude's a badass.
Right.
So yeah, and that's what this is saying. Like what would make you act that way? Like what would make you act cool in this situation? Like how would a cool person act, man?
Okay. What would make, what sort of situation would... Because everyone, we all have moments when I feel kind of cool, or I feel in control, or I feel calm.
I am the mayor of Coolsville, Daddy.
And sometimes it's, some aspect of the situation, just maybe the fact that you have training, or the fact that you have been here before, or something like
Experience.
that. Experience.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what causes cool in your books, eh?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I think a quick wit also works for cool. Like somebody comes up and says something, and then bam, you got a retort.
Right.
For instance, tonight one of my coworkers was a little late in getting there. The guy who was supposed to get off work at a certain time was a little miffed at this because you had to stay around an extra couple of minutes, wait until the replacement gets in there. And the guy, said, sorry about that. There's no landline at my house. I wasn't able to phone in. My cat got out, and I had to go chase my cat. And so I diffused things. I was pretty darn cool. And so I diffused it and made sure nobody was stressed anymore because I said, tell the truth. Were you really chasing a cat or were you really getting a little cat? I'll keep this clean. There's another synonym for cat. Were you getting a little
and
kitty?
And that helped the situation?
Everyone had a good laugh, but I was like, oh, ha, 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 why don't you turn the words into a lewd innuendo? How silly of this. It's like, all of a sudden, the guy who had to wait the extra 10 minutes for the replacement to come on, he wasn't miffed at all. He's like, that was hilarious. It was a 10-minute setup for a joke. And so, yeah, I felt pretty darn cool about that. Why? Because I was able to turn the situation around into a funny line. You really chasing a cat, or were you getting a little kitty? Bam! All of a sudden, no stress going on. Everyone has a good chuckle laugh. The guy's not feeling so embarrassed because he was a little red in the face because he came in late. He was embarrassed about that. The other guy, he went from being a little, cheesed off, that he had to wait extra long for his replacement to come. Everyone was suddenly happy and laughing at it because it was like, oh, you turned it around. You made it sound good.
Okay.
I felt pretty cool. So I think a good quick wit. That's what makes me cool in situations.
Quick. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think that works great for a writing thing. Say, give your characters attributes. Like this is a cool guy, or this guy's he's aggressive sort of thing. And then when you got in the situation, and with these characters, they say, okay, now what would the aggressive character do? What would the cool person do? In which case you'd have heck, there's a good buddy thing. You got one guy aggressive, one guy cool. The one aggressive guy's always ready to get into a fight. The cool guy, he's cool because he diffuses the situation. Never winds up getting into a fist fight until it's really called for, because the cool guy keeps being so cool, people just stop their fights. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, one other question I like to ask, though, is what makes a person... Imagine a normal person in a situation, like what would make a normal person become aggressive? Because sometimes it might be like it's insecurity, or I feel like somebody is trying to cheat me or something like that. Or
everybody has their hot button sort of thing to push. I find when people are not paying attention to the quality or quantity of my work, and they just dismiss it around. Like, oh, you've been doing nothing all day. Boom! Bam! I am there. I am up in their face on that one. That you do not downplay the amount of work or the quality of work I've done.
Yeah, that makes you...
You want to get me angry? That's what you start off with, and we'll work ourselves from there.
And also sort of being pressed from above, like if your boss demands you do this thing in a certain amount of time, you're like ignoring the requests of your coworkers or somebody else. In order
I have
to get,
done that at work. It's like,
done.
oh, I'd like to do this, but boss man says I got to be doing that, so I got to get this done here. Sorry. So I can't wind up with whatever low little job they wind up trying to give me because they don't want to do it themselves.
Yeah, and that,
I use it as a shield. Boss says I got to do this.
Well, and sometimes that you can use aggression. Sometimes people will use aggression a little bit in that situation too.
I do try and use it to fuel my furnace. I use anger to work better, work harder, work faster.
Oh, good. That's healthy. I don't know.
Well, it's either that or you just let the anger like sit inside you and fester. Burn off. You're angry. Work harder. Get through. Push through. Do better. Because usually I'm angry at myself. Okay, well, you're going faster.
Another thing about aggression is often people, they feel stressed, they feel pressed upon, like, I'm supposed to act this way to get what I need because I have no other, like, I have to put a fake smile on in front of all these customers, otherwise they'll fire me for not getting enough sales. Well, but even aggression is triggered in some way, sort of externally. In some situations, not always, but sometimes it's
There have been some people I know that just have a naturally aggressive stance. I remember one person being so much bigger than one of my coworkers, and just the way he was, he leaned in, and the manner and nature he had, he was very intimidating for her. So, it was very aggressive in that sense. I don't think he meant to be, but he was very. Oh, that's another external trigger though, because if somebody is imposing on you, you're normally fairly passive, but if somebody seems like you're going to try and push against me? I'm going to push back. Don't you push up against me. Yeah. It's just like, no, the guy's just really tall and he just kind of slouches a bit. It looks like he's always leaning into you. It looks like he's about to topple over on top of you. That's just how he is, man. It's not actually him being aggressive. Right. But you wind up getting aggressive because it seems like he's being aggressive. So, yeah. Bad cue. All right, final point. Okay, we're running just a few minutes over, but we can still make this work. Okay. Final point. Number 22. What's the essence of your story? The most economical telling of it. If you know that, you can build out from there. So I like that one. I think that's a very good one. The whole exercise about telling your story in one sentence, or try and tell your story in a paragraph. Think of it as a movie pitch thing. Yeah. It's like, okay, you suddenly find yourself in an elevator with... I have no idea who's the head of any corporation. We'll say the head of... We can't think of one who's alive. I was going to say Steve Jobs, but... Okay, you find yourself in an elevator. You're going up like 50 stories. Don't know why. You're going up 50 stories in an elevator with the head of Lionsgate. Okay. So these are people that produce pretty good stuff, but also you don't necessarily have to be like the biggest in the world to get in their gates or things. It's not like Paramount. It's not Universal, man. This is Lionsgate. These are people you can potentially actually see on the streets or things. So let's make this relatable, right? So you got a story to pitch. You got 50 stories, and it's a quick elevator. So you got to pitch a story to this guy. Yeah, you have about a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. Well, say you got 3 minutes, just in case someone else stops somewhere in between these 50 stories. But can you pitch your story? Can you pitch your character concept in that? I think anybody can. The question is have you thought about it enough to make it good sounding, rather than just there's a guy, he falls in love with a girl, and they do a lot of stuff. Got an idea for you. It's a buddy flick, but it's also a supernatural, sci-fi, sort of horror kind of cross meld going on there. Got a little bit from the superhero.
A cosmeld?
Cross meld.
Oh, cross meld. Okay.
Crossing the streams.
Cosmeld? I don't know what that is. Okay.
Cross meld. You got like a crossing the streams sort of thing. You got kind of like the superhero thing because superheroes are big now, but you also got the horror thing that gets nice and dark, real good grist going on. You get one person. He's a disposable assassin. His body and mind gets cloned from a certain set point anytime he wants. He always starts off at square one. The other one is a vampire. He's perfectly immortal, but he has to maintain perfect perfection of his body because he's got to live with anything that happens for the rest of eternity. The two of them got to, go together for, they got to infiltrate, like a secret thing, and only by working together and overcoming their differences can they truly save the day and maybe even the world.
Okay. Well, why does the vampire go along? Because he has to. Well,
because they're the disposable, assassin sort of guy. He's used to having cybernetic augmentation. Anything he needs for a mission, they can just put it in as they're growing his body. But he can't do it this time. He's got to work au naturel. Nothing metallic on him. Whatever it is, that's out there, they know it can detect metal. So he's got to go in au naturel. But they're not going to send him completely unarmed. They're sending someone who's supernaturally augmented. The vampire.
Okay.
There's no metal in there. Here's a twist later on. What if it's not really the vampire they're sending with him? What if it's the disposable guy they're sending in with the vampire? They think the vampire's the real guy who's got the chance, and just in case he needs a little extra blood, they've got this highly trained assassin he can drink from, as need be. How does that feel, to know that you are so disposable, you are effectively a commodity for someone else's mission?
Well, he knows he's disposable, right?
He knows he's disposable, but how does it feel to realize you're so disposable, your higher-ups see you as a commodity? Not just as someone, okay, yeah, whatever, we got his brain on backup. If we end up having to nuke the site, we nuke the site. It's no, you are equipment for someone else now. That's how disposable you are. How badly does that hit home for you?
I don't know, yeah.
How's that, man? There's some emotional grist going in for your story when that moment comes in when he realizes, I'm just like the sidekick for him, man. I'm so disposable. I'm equipment. And I'm never even going to realize this once I'm dead. If he winds up having to drain my blood to help save the day, I'm never even going to remember this. It's going to keep happening again and again. I'm going to keep finding out about this for the first time over and over every time it happens. And there's no way he can warn himself because he can't tell his previous, mind self. It's all already backed up as this data storage, man.
Okay.
How does that hit you, man? There's the emotional impact when you hit that revelation of just how disposable you are as a human being. Ding, 50th story. My name's Ryan. If you really like my thing here, get a hold of me, sort of thing. I think we can really, you get me a professional writer for a script on thing. I think we can really knock something out of the park this next summer. Think about it. My name's Ryan.
All right.
Bam.
Well, there you go.
Did I pitch my story? If you were the head of Lionsgate, would you be interested in that concept for a movie?
I would say we'll call you, and then we wouldn't call you.
You are a cold man, Josh. You are so cold.
I'm the head of a corporation that makes movies. I got all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know. I have no idea how. I
imagine
works,
they get a lot of really bad scripts and ideas. This one is unique. I think this one has proof. That's why I'm saving it for my Nanowrimo. I'm going to write the novel. So someone from Lionsgate is going to contact me. I'm going to have a movie made out of this one day. That's how much I believe in it. I believe this one has actual potential.
Okay, well, here's
Okay, you go first quickly, Josh.
No, I was gonna say, what if I was some kind of executive, I'd say that sounds great. Definitely keep working on it. Follow your dreams.
I won't lie. I am still plotting out exactly how this all sorts out.
Yeah.
And the third act monster, I really don't have envisioned yet. Turns out I copied it from the faculty, so I got to fix up something there. But I think the bare bones skeleton right now is working pretty low. It's looking like a good skeleton. Then you get some meat and some organs in this thing, and I think I got you a movie that's going to make you the blockbuster for the next summer.
And I would say, well, we've got a lot of other things and a lot of balls in the air, so we'll have to pass on your idea for now. And this is what you probably will hear 100 times from publishers. That's the thing, trying to get a book published, you get these rejection letters over and over and over again, and they try to be,
J.K. Rowling got, turned down, 30-something times with her Harry Potter before someone decided to make a chance at it, and bam! She's the richest lady, author in all of Europe now. Shows what 30-something other people knew, right?
Yeah, so an elevator pitch to one person, it's hit or miss. But I suppose if you did that elevator pitch for the 30 different executives, maybe at one point...
It's a pretty big elevator.
Just keep riding it up and down the whole day, hoping that different executives will get on.
I'm the elevator operator, but I got a really good idea for you. But yes, that's the essence of your story. You effectively reduce it down to the elevator pitch.
Yeah, and also you can work on it too. Like you can, and once you've written more of the story, you can go back to your elevator pitch and you say, "Well, my story isn't maybe not so much about that anymore.
Maybe I dropped the horror element. Maybe I wind up making a buddy comedy with a supernatural flair."
And I suppose the other thing is while you're working on your elevator, like you've written your story and now you're working on your elevator pitch and you're like, oh, this elevator pitch sounds awesome, but my story didn't really line up with it. How can I change the story to be more in
Let's get the literary hammer out and start banging it into shape to match the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that works well for any story you want to tell. It's like this is the story I want to tell. And get it in see if you can get it into 12 words or less, I suppose. I mean, that's not, that's just a random number I picked out from my brain.
No, do a 12-word summary, do a 20-word summary, do a 100-word summary, and do a 500-word summary. Because each of those are going to illuminate a different aspect of what you think is important about the book.
Yeah.
Or book or movie or role-playing game or whatever you're trying to
I just want to do I want to do a role playing session with you guys. Here's the essence of my story.
Yeah.
There'd be murders happening in the city that the characters have to find out what it is before their patron winds up to the next person on a morgue slab.
That's another interesting point, is that it's very easy to pitch a role playing, especially to your friends, like who already have seen you DM. It's very easy to just throw out any old pitch for a role playing session, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're in. We're." And that's good practice, I suppose, for writing, too, is pitching to your friends and playing D&D.
Well, it's collaborative storytelling. I mean, if you get stuck, at the table, then you've got at least 4 other people in a full group to help you out with that.
And I suppose the other thing is if you don't deliver on your pitch in a role-playing session, they're like, we played anyways.
I got experience and loot off it, so it's not a complete waste, right?
Yeah. I guess, and I suppose, like, when you're pitching to a reader, like if you have a book or something, and you pitch and you have a great pitch to the or back cover copy or whatever, and they're like, they're reading, this sounds great, and they read it and they're like, well, it didn't really match up with what was in the summary, but it was still good. I still enjoyed reading it. So I suppose that's a good point, is that your pitch doesn't even have to necessarily be the same as what's in your book. It doesn't have to be accurate.
Well, as long as the broad strokes seem to match.
Yeah, I guess you want to be generally honest about what people are getting into, but sometimes if you're not,
well, you don't want to give away too much information, right? That's why you don't give the broad strokes.
No spoilers. Okay. Yeah.
It's the story of this and this, and by the way, the really only likable guy I wrote dies in the third to last chapter. I'm sorry, I got stuck. I didn't know what to do. This is my apology signed to the author.
On the back it says he dies at the end.
There you go.
That's all it says. I want to publish a book that's just like a white cover and maybe a title. I don't know what the title is. Somebody already wrote John dies at the end, so that's been done. But I don't know, it's the mystery of the castle of whatever, and then on the back, your back cover copy is just he dies at the end, or a quote by somebody, somebody's pulled quote.
He dies at the end, Stephen King. God damn you, Stephen King, you've ruined my entire book, but you quoted something for me on my book, and I can't pass up a Stephen King quotation on the cover. Why do you burn me like this, King? You're burning me here.
Put all of that on the cover too.
Author's response. You burn me like jalapeno peppers in my stomach, King. How dare you do this to me? Thanks anyways for the quote.
Yeah. Did we get to the end?
Yeah, that was number 22. We've covered the whole darn thing.
All right. Yeah, those are the Pixar rules of storytelling.
I think it's very good. Stuff.
I think most of them we gave a thumbs up.
A few ones I had to say no to, but only particularly because it didn't always apply across all media. But definitely for the movie-based stuff, it definitely applied. Not everything. As I said for the first one, you like a character for trying more than for succeeding. It's like, no. I've seen people try and lose every time, and it gets rather boring, and I don't like it.
Yeah, you need a little bit of a mix in there.
Yeah. But that's just because I think everything here, they combine that with variety is the spice of life. And there you go. You get better off for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's very good. I think anything you're working on, anything you're reading right now, any fiction, you got a plan for a movie you're going to watch later on tonight? Take these lessons in with you. See how it applies.
Yeah.
Maybe this stuff doesn't work good for martial arts flicks. I don't know.
The other thing, I want to caution, because I find myself doing this, is there's rules in here like what was it? Oh, coincidences are always coincidence to get you out of a situation are unsatisfying. Right?
Yeah, it is kind of unsatisfying as a reader.
Yeah, but I want to stress that don't go into a movie with that rule. Like if the movie breaks that rule, don't say, oh, they broke that rule, therefore it's a bad movie. You need to.
It's like the Bechdel test. Do two women within the story have a line of dialogue, or I guess two lines of dialogue, one says one says something else, wherein they are not mentioning the male protagonist.
Right. Yeah.
And just because it doesn't pass that test doesn't make it a good movie. The Lord of the Rings movies fail the Bechdel test.
That's true, yeah.
That doesn't make them bad movies. It's just it shows a highlight for, I guess, gender disparity and how much screen time the ladies are getting.
Yeah, it's something in our culture. And yeah, like, if you go in and each of these rules, if you find a movie that sort of breaks a few of these rules, don't say, well, it broke the rules, therefore it's a bad movie. You have to sort of...
Just say, I find it interesting how it's a good movie despite breaking this thing.
Yeah, and sometimes people will break that rule just because they need to mechanically to get the story done or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is an occasion where you go against that. So.
Well, the second one, what's interesting to an audience is not what's fun as a writer, and vice versa. There was one movie I remember seeing that was boring as heck to watch as a thing, except that in the final 20 minutes, or not even 20, I guess it must be like the final 10, 15 minutes, it all revealed itself out as a big thing. It's like, I couldn't even make the claim that I would have seen that coming. Like, oh, these people in the movie are so dumb, I totally would have seen what was going on. It's like, no, it was totally happening, and what I thought was boring was actually all there in front of my eyes. I missed it. So, like, what was interesting to the writer seemed boring to me, but it still wound up, like, blowing my mind at the end. It's like, oh, we were going to wind up shutting this off. It would have been the second movie I would have not seen the completion, but we saw it through. It's like, I'm sitting there with my brother Adam, and we're like, I didn't see that at all until it came in. It was all right there. He's like, yeah, it was all in front of us. I mean, just we didn't see the bigger picture. Yeah. And so, it was boring for us. It was so boring we were almost going to shut it off. But it paid off in the end, and it seemed like it was about to break the rule, but in the end it faked us out. So, sometimes it seems like it'll be okay to break the rule. Keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to remind our listeners we have email. If you have feedback, comments on what we've...
you got 22 more rules for us to analyze. Yeah, let's send that one over. I'll do that.
Yeah. Anything you want to send us, thesimulationist@gmail.com is our email address. You can comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thesimulationist.
I try and be on Facebook at least once a day, so it should be about 24-hour turnaround at worst.
That's right. You can tweet at me at Spaceboot1 on Twitter.
That's the numeral 1.
Spaceboot numeral 1 on Twitter. And check our YouTube page. It's just this, basically
with a static image.
With a static image.
It's a very easy format to get a hold of for those of you who are just browsing online.
And,
that's what it was for.
And yeah, you can post comments there too. Also, and
although keep in mind, you will be a YouTube commenter if you comment on our YouTube stuff. It doesn't matter that's technical. You are actually a YouTube commenter if you comment. So be aware. There's consequences for your actions. You do that, you deserve to be a YouTube commenter.
Very good. And we are on iTunes and Stitcher and various other podcast places, collectors, where you can leave, podcatchers, where you can leave reviews or thumbs up or stars or whatever they give you to leave. And we would appreciate whatever rating you feel we deserve.
+1.
+1.
If you think we deserve 5 stars, find a way to give us 6.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean give us a 5-star review and a 1-star review. No, I see that gimmick already. You ain't doing that on me.
Okay. And in real life, like it would help us out so much if you have friends, or if you're on a message board and you a topic comes up, or friends in real life, or you.
So you were doing a play-by-post sort of thing, like on there. It's like dude, like, you totally broke this rule, and I don't think it was cool. Not because you broke the rule, but because it played off like this, and these guys really exemplify what I want. Like, instead of say, hey, what do you think about these guys? And I think they kind of wound up dissing you, buddy. So yeah, I was like, yeah, hey, guess what? We technically dissed you because you broke a rule. But it's also our way of saying, like, the guy who showed you this podcast is trying to hint tell you something. So, take from that what you will.
Yeah. So, tell all your gaming friends, your friendly local gaming store, support them and let them know about us so that maybe, the whole world can learn about cool stuff.
And better analyze their fiction for more rewarding experiences.
All right.
And, I mean, if we had a couple of good ideas, and just, like, say, hey, this is a good idea for a thing, take that freely. Or like you think you got a writer who's got writer's blocks. Hey, these guys come up with a couple good ideas. Just send a link for them, man.
Indeed, yeah.
So we've gone well over this week. Sorry on that.
So
but I did want to make sure it was only a 2-parter, that we covered all 22 rules, not split into a 3-parter with a long discussion of 4 rules at the last one.
All right, are we ready to wrap up then?
I believe so.
Okay, I've been Josh Gillette.
I've been Ryan Kirkby. We will see you in 7 days.
10 months.